Hello, everybody, and welcome back to WatchHaus. This has been a huge week for Overwatch news. We finally got Watch Point back, and most importantly, it's time for us to reset our watches. So, Brandon, I'll let you take it away first. What have you been up to?
Oh goodness, let me pull up the list. It's very long. It's been busy. I've had quite the week. You'll recall, avid fans who have definitely been watching everything I do, that I did 1 point week this week where I interviewed every player except one and the head coach from 1 Point, which is a European contenders team. And those interviews were all great. Lots of very insightful answers and like discussion of Europe as a scene and things like that. I also interviewed King, who played for the Skyfoxes, played past tense. He just left. And then I'm working on a WatchHaus one-on-one series, which I started with Get Amazed, from 1 Point. And then I started Open Division coverage with Broadcast GG today for North American Open Division. Katrina, you were there for that. That was cool. And I have some other Open Division news that's coming eventually. You'll get there.
Nice. Man, like, not only have you been popping off with the 1 Point interviews, but 1 Point themselves has been playing really well. I mean, they've just been, like, killing it for lately.
Except today.
Yes,
they kind of struggled.
I heard
they got in their own heads a little bit on this one. They were playing a little unorganized. They had a very set plan, but so did Angry Titans, and they managed to play their game a little better than 1 Point did. So definitely a good learning experience for them, who put a lot of emphasis on the mental game and understanding and assessing like mid-match what's going on. But I think they needed it, really. I think if you get into playoffs with like, oh, I'm so great, this is perfect, like the moment you start losing, you just like skirt. Like that's not good. So I'm almost glad they lost.
Yeah, I mean, look at NYXL, great example. Well, I've been pretty busy this week as well. So I did a NA Contenders power rankings again. I've been doing those each week, kind of updating them. So this week kind of played into the power rankings kind of well, actually. So, I mean, a lot of the better teams that were higher on the list won, and a lot of the teams that have kind of been on the decline lost. So not a ton of changes. Probably the biggest change we saw was in Gladiators Legion. I didn't expect them to beat Envy. I really think I'm really high on this Envy roster, and they've just really struggled so far. Granted, they've played XL2, or they played XL2 and Gladiators Legion now, but they looked good against them. But overall, I think one of the biggest surprises has been ATL Academy really doing well at the top. So keeping track of NA contenders, and then also had a piece on kind of making an argument for why reducing the number of games in the Overwatch League won't correlate to lower burnout rates, and just talking about teams' organizational structures and how that's kind of the major key, and how maybe we've taken the number of games and formed it as like a scapegoat and blamed that for player health, not really hitting the main issue. So that's generated some good conversation, and that's kind of what it was there for. So I'm happy about that. But other than that, not a lot of other stuff going on. Got to Twitch affiliate, which was cool on the stream. So yeah, I guess I'll have some emotes going and stuff. So that'll be fun. But yeah, that's it for me.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see the goopy emotes. That made me so. Sorry for being startled for a second. Someone knocked on my door. The joys of living in.
It was me.
Oh.
Don't question it. Just
what I've been up to this week. Which I guess Thibble knows all about.
Made me sound like a stalker.
Yeah,
just talk.
You did say you knocked on the door, so
I did kind of do that, huh? I did do that.
But no, I had my first week of work in Los Angeles. Very excited to be on the business side of things. So that's been lovely. And I casted and hosted South American Contenders yesterday, and Thibble and I reunited for Open Division today earlier as well. So it's been a great week. It's been a busy one, but loving it, loving the hustle.
Twitch chat might say you have gotten some bread.
Yeah,
we're still waiting for
gamer.
Payday.
Yeah, give it a couple weeks. First paycheck usually takes a second, but yeah, then
actual bread.
But yeah. it is in the oven, so that is good. No bun in the oven.
I was gonna say, Katrina.
Anyways, other announcements. So let's go to overall.
You jumped over the get Katrina a date thing.
Yeah.
That's like you skipped a few steps. There's a progression you have to follow, like by law.
Typically, yeah.
If you're Catholic. Yeah. Call her grandma.
Just
Oh.
to clarify to everyone, I am not pregnant.
Just so everyone's aware.
Sure, that's what she wants you to think.
We'll see about that in 9 months. Man, Overwatch, am I right?
Yeah,
Wow, what a
Overwatch.
game.
That's what we're here to talk about, right? Maybe.
Sure love
I
Overwatch.
guess.
Boy, howdy. Tracer.
Best hero.
Let's just recall the last like 30 seconds. All right.
Yeah, I'll
And
press E. I press E.
we
There.
we are indeed getting that bread. So let's talk a little bit more about the news coming around in Overwatch. So first of all, Boston has made some big changes, and as someone who has been following the South American scene, I have been so happy to see that Alamong has been signed, but also Klaus is now on Boston Academy. These two players have been staples in the South American scene, and it's great to finally see the region get some of the recognition that it deserves.
I just want to throw out there for people who might not know who either of those people are, which is going to be a lot of people. To put this in easy perspective, in Klaus's first game, playing from South America on 200 and something ping, God only knows, he was playing Tracer into Goats and winning. That is the kind of player Klaus is, right? Like, we're not ready for him when he actually gets stateside and is playing on decent ping. Like, it's not going to be good. Like, it's him and Fusion's both. Fusion's is playing from the UK now on 100 and something ping. So, like, yeah, it's crazy the kind of situation that Boston has put themselves in over the course of a week. You know, like, in terms of, we're signing these two great South American players to different parts of our organization, and by the time we get them over here, which is a struggle right now, it's going to work out for them in a big way. So
yeah, for all the struggles that Boston's had in the offseason, with different organizational issues and player, kind of well-being, happiness, I think they're making some really good progress. And I think they're on the way to being this really cool international organization, both at the academy and at the Overwatch League level. Getting Iostux was a big pickup for Uprising Academy. I think as he spends more time there, it's going to be great. Same thing with Klaus, Fusions, Almau. So I've been kind of negative on them lately, but I think this really could be like kind of this upward slope kind of starting to happen for them. So I'm excited for it for sure.
I would say I'm still concerned from a managerial perspective, not about these two players, but about the third that they apparently are not getting anymore, which is Funny Astro. I'll go a little more in depth on that. Essentially, Funny Astro played for British Hurricane, which is the Spitfire Academy team, and then was rumored for a long time to be getting transferred to Boston Uprising, maybe as a two-way player, not sure, alongside Fusions. But that never really, we never heard anything about it for a long time, and everybody was wondering what was going on. Apparently, and of course these are all allegations that we're still learning about and not really knowing anything about, apparently he had been caught boosting for some amount of time and was going to be suspended for some amount of games. And upon finding out about this, Boston said, no, you can take him back. But at that point, certain paperwork had already been signed that is making that a little more difficult than they might like. So currently his contract is actually in dispute, as I understand, between some very high caliber lawyers. You've got Cloud9 lawyers and you've got Robert Kraft lawyers, which are two of the scariest groups I think I could ever think of having a legal team.
Yeah.
And they are now trying to figure out who has to deal with him and pay for him and, have him on the roster. So that's a situation and a half that's going on. I don't know enough to make a call on this is very bad because of this, or these people are to blame. We don't know. I'm not going to throw that out there. That's not really my deal. But the fact that the situation is going on at all is a little concerning for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
And Boston isn't the only team who has had some interesting moves this offseason. Also, the talent team at Overwatch generally has had some big moves that we've discussed across the summer and this fall, and I guess now we're in winter. Wow, time flies. But Bibble, I know you're a fan of someone who might be having some good news coming soon.
I demand justice for Reinforce, because him leaving was a mistake, first off. Much like most of the talent cuts, I personally feel. I think the Overwatch League definitely should have stuck with their guns going into Season 2. Maybe except Crumbs. I know he struggled at times, but like even so, like how are you going to establish rapport between your analysis desk or any of your talent if you cut them every year or something, you know? So I think the core that they're sticking with is good, but I really wanted Reinforced to stay because I love that guy. He's super nice and like insightful and tall. And I'm also tall. So like I feel a kinship, you know, even though I'm not Swedish. I see Rob shaking his head, so stop it. We don't know where he's going. It could be a variety of places. He posted a standard cryptic eyes emoji style tweet of a graphic that said the word restart on it and had like the moon shifting phases, which is just so perfectly obscure and cryptic. It doesn't tell us anything, but God, do we want it to tell us something? Current speculation, although I've heard some is that he might be being brought on to ESPN as a correspondent. I don't know. That would be cool. I mean, ESPN's a big name, but maybe he also is brought back to the Overwatch League in some other capacity or for some different team, either as a player or as Epiphany. Dude, restart? What if he's restarting his career as a pro player and he's joined a team? What if that's, I literally just thought of that right now. Like, what if that just means he's like, I'm back to playing Reinhardt again. I've restarted that thing. I don't know. Like, literally, that's the phase we're at right now. Is just like, oh, maybe like the 40 minutes into an episode of House where he figures out what the condition is. That we're at like 38 minutes, you know? So in a couple of weeks, he's going to post something and we're going to be like, oh, that's what it is. It wasn't lupus. And then, yeah, there you go. Shout out to all the House fans in chat. Great show.
Yeah, I think that, so Nate Danzer in the opening episode of WatchHaus also kind of cryptically said, I think we'll be seeing him again, or we'll be seeing him around or something like that. I don't know, or maybe he didn't say it on the show, but I know he said that. And yeah, Reinforce has done a stream at ESPN before, so that's part of where that speculation came from. The opening episode of WatchHaus had ESPN correspondents on it. Maybe that relationship is trying to be something that's worked on. So that he could be like a tether between that. I don't think that's what's going to happen, and I don't necessarily like that possibility. I like the player option a lot. That could be super interesting. Or maybe like coaching or managing or something.
Easily, yeah.
He's got a great brain for the game. Clearly, he was an analysis and did an incredible job at it. So teams all could see his talent and could easily pick him up because of it. So that would make sense to me. But I'm, in the, whatever it ends up being, I'm glad that we're seeing something, and that it is good news that he is going to be on the scene, because a lot of us were kind of hurt whenever he, got, let go or whatever. And, there was kind of all this, sadness around it.
Remember his first stream after that announcement when Brennan Sideshow went downstairs and gave him a hug and everything?
He started crying, yeah.
Oh man,
horrible. Oh,
I'm a lot more happy that he's posting like cryptic, ooh, what am I doing now tweets versus I'm sitting in a gutter in Sweden. Yeah. Nothing is happening with my life. Oh my God. At least we have that.
There are some other question marks, though, about we saw Hex on the opening episode. We haven't seen much similar around, and we've been seeing him. Yeah, Mr. X Hex, the lookalike. We haven't seen much similar. We haven't seen much Crumbs. So there's no way they get rid of X and Uber. I mean, those are like.
I have minor news on Crumbs and Semler. Semler is doing a CS:GO event in Lisbon, in Portugal, I believe. Which is right up his alley. He's got a lot of experience. It's like a 2-day event, so I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think he's like leaving us forever. He's just keeping himself busy and making some money in the off season. Sure. Crumbs posted a tweet that had like fire in it, and he was like, "Soon you will see." So either he's going to try and become a dictator, or he's got a new job.
Could be.
I don't know. It's Crumbs. He'll surprise us for sure.
The ice cream daddy.
Don't ever say those words again.
That's what he called himself.
I don't want him to, though, and I don't want you to call him that either. You'll encourage him. No, you're better than that, Katrina.
I have a question. Do you guys think that now that Golden Boy, we're talking about talent and where they're all going to end up, so he's doing the Titan games on NBC with The Rock. He's a big deal now. He also is constantly doing stuff with like Fortnite and all the other esports groups, video games, whatever you call them. Do you guys think he's going to be back as a consistent kind of like alternate host to Puckett still, or what do you guys think?
I do. I think he will be. The Titan games, I believe, are pre-recorded.
Yeah.
So I do believe that he's going to still maintain this part of Overwatch League. If not, Golden Boy is someone who is so deeply connected with the community, and he'll at least be making appearances. I feel I trust that he'll at least be a fixture in the scene.
I think the season 1 formula of bringing him on for a week every stage was perfect. I mean, I would love to see more of him, but I know there are people who are also like, ew, Golden Boy, which they're wrong, of course. Like, we could see Golden Boy every freaking day and I'd be happy about it. But like you guys said, because of how busy he is and like how stupid, crazy, famous, and awesome he is and how many other projects he's doing, I think a limited run in the Overwatch League would do him just fine.
Yeah.
I know they're going to keep using him. There's no way after his performance at the grand finals that they don't bring him back.
Oh my gosh.
Like, he knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
He's got the chops. Obviously, other people now are noticing that too, but he likes us. I have to believe that he likes us because, God, I want him back. So good. Golden Boy is one of my favorites. So yeah, I definitely see him in Overwatch's future and many other futures in esports. Like, he's just everywhere, which is cool.
Since we're focused on the talent, let's think of one of our favorite talent moments from all of season 1.
Season 1, so not like postseason, off-season stuff, but just
I
season
guess
1.
we could include that too. Like what's been some of your favorite moments that the talent has provided during Overwatch League or off season?
So mine is easy, and this I knew this as soon as I watched it happen. Was the Overwatch World Cup desk with Golden Boy, Reinforced, Brandon Sideshow, and I mean, so those guys clearly planned that ahead of time. They just got together in the house. They 3 of the 4 of them live in. Maybe it was just the 3 of them. Maybe Golden Boy didn't know any of it was going to happen.
You know, I have insight on that, actually. I've heard a little about this. They specifically met, and Golden Boy wrote out like a script for everything they were going to do. And he even left moments for them to like, just get crazy. Just do whatever you guys are going to do. I don't know. Just do whatever. Like, some of it was planned and that was awesome. But then the rest of it was also improv, and they planned for that. Like, it was all calculated, which makes it so much cooler in my book. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they're just that funny on their own.
Yeah. And so like I'm a big fan of traditional sports. So like the TNT desk is one of, I think, the best NBA TNT with like Shaq and Kenny and Charles Barkley. So like that desk just goes off the rails all the time. Like Shaq hits people with fish. It's just crazy stuff happens. And so like I think that them doing the Overwatch World Cup desk, doing it that way was partially, emulating that a little bit. And yeah, it was choreographed. Like there was clearly a script, but it was just so funny and so entertaining that like I couldn't stop watching. Like, and I was honestly laughing the entire time. So I think that was maybe the best desk they've ever had. More time to prepare for it, all that kind of stuff. It was just more lighthearted being the World Cup than regular season, in my opinion. So, but by far favorite production moment for sure.
And what's cool with all these set bits that most often involve Golden Boy is that he takes direct reference from the TNT desk and like the WWE, which he's a huge fan of. Like him fainting after the last battle for LA in the regular season, him wanting to fight a guy in a bear suit and like having to be held back by Bren. Bren was like grabbing his shoulders, and there's a picture out there. It's amazing. And I post it all the time of him just like screaming. He's like, I'm ready to fight this bear. And the bear's like, I'm going to get you. I'm a bear. And he's just, it's ridiculous.
What's the bear saying?
I'm a bear. I'm going to get you. I'm a bear. What's funny is that happened the same day as the same day that I first brought out the seagull mask, and security was like, you can't be wearing that seagull mask. It's a security concern. And then a guy in a bear suit walked by. I'm like, that guy? He was a Blizzard employee, but like, come on, let me do my thing. That's my other favorite desk moment, by the way. I kind of crashed the desk, and that was fun. Sideshow was like, throw me the mask. Give it to me, Thibbledork. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And then they spent like 20 minutes figuring out how to put the mask on, but still wear the headphones, which was a struggle apparently. So that was pretty cool. That's my favorite.
Hilarious.
Horrible accent, but also I think my favorite moment.
Just the subtle dive. Hold on, that was just really good. Sorry.
But
what was your favorite moment, Katrina?
Announcing for the grand finals. It's just you get, even though I was watching on TV, I wasn't there, you still kind of get goosebumps seeing esports being treated like superstars, like the superstars that they deserve to be treated as, I would say. And it was just a moment where, oh, this is actually happening. I'm watching this on ESPN with my parents, and this is very familiar to them. So
it's a landmark moment.
Yeah, I think that Golden Boy really does provide a lot of that connection for people who might not be familiar with esports. There's something that they can latch on, something that he has that's really intangible, which makes him so important to the broadcast. But let's go back to Watch Points. Speaking of broadcast, so we have mentioned that Hex had a very impressive beard, but what else was a highlight for you potentially in the content of this show, Goopy?
Yeah, I just thought the structure of it was really good. I mean, it was long, 2-hour show, but they broke down each team. They gave each team plenty of time. They kind of gave their subjective rankings in each one and their analysis of it, which I thought was a fair amount of it. But overall, it was just I was a big fan of Watch Point during the season. Watched every preview, every
Yeah.
recap. It was like my thing twice a week, and so it was just really nice to see that high production, high quality content Overwatch coverage again. And so I really enjoyed just the overall kind of setup of it. I thought it was cool how they broke away into the interviews in between with different people, like Dante and just Malik's other interviews. So, but overall, just the structure, breaking down each team was, I thought, just incredible. So,
And Thibault, do you think that any of the major announcements, especially the road games, the schedule, what do you think is going to be the biggest highlight going into the next season that we heard from this Watchpoint episode?
It's got to be the road games for me for sure. The common consensus or the common knowledge was that we wouldn't see them until season 3, until 2020, and there was a lot of speculation about like how's that going to happen? How are we going to suddenly go to all road games or however? We don't even know how it's going to work. But the fact that we're like slowly getting into that process over the course of this season means that it's going to be way more polished. And it's also just hype because, like, surprise, you thought we were going to wait another year. Sucker, we're going to have road games immediately. It's going to be awesome, even in a limited capacity. Any of these places that are going to get road games are going to build up their fan bases more early. They're just going to, like, they're going to be able to say, like, it's a point of prestige and pride, right? Like, yeah, we got started on this early because we care about our fans. Yeah, woo, marketing stuff. And it's cool because I don't always have to drive to LA, maybe. Maybe I can drive to, say, San Francisco for some road games this season, which is closer to me than LA and with fewer mountains in between me and it. So that would be nice. And in general, that's true for a lot of people, people who live not near LA, like on the East Coast or in Waco, Texas, or China or London or wherever we might have road games. There's a lot of potential, actually. So yeah, it's going to be awesome and huge and really cool.
yeah, I think I totally agree. I think this season's going to build off the infrastructure that exists in those arenas, especially. And then as this next year happens, next year we'll build on all of the infrastructure. But this will be kind of like another guinea pig year, especially the first one for traveling. So I think Thibble's exactly right. I mean, I live in Waco, and there's a really nice esports arena up in Arlington, just a couple hours away. And you would have to think there would be an away game there if they're using the pre-made ones. At least I'm optimistic of that because of where I live. But I mean, you've got other areas in the country that are the same way. You've got Philadelphia. Looks like it's already at capacity to where they can have people for a game. You could talk about Canada. You could look at Toronto or Vancouver, and then even possibly going international. We could see London or China, maybe. I think it's in the realm of possibilities to think that we might play a game in each of those locations this year, especially if they want to figure out how they're going to navigate 20 different cities. They probably need to start out by navigating 8 or so. I would think anyway. So
Chinese games would be so huge too, because like obviously we're stateside, we have a certain bias towards the NA teams, but like there's 1.5 billion people over in China right now, and a lot of them want to see Overwatch. Beyond just like an engagement perspective for running games in China, the Overwatch League stands to make a lot of money by getting into China as hard as they can, as quick as they can. So not doing road games there, I think, would be foolish. Yeah. And I'm sure they know that because they're way smarter than me in every way. So that should be interesting.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that the other thing, I mean, Paris is another great example. Like these fans are just like so good internationally that they need to see their teams. And the other part of this is like, Blizzard needs to figure out how they're going to logistically handle flying players around internationally. At least on the small scale, how they're going to manage, how the teams, will they be compensated for not being able to practice as much this week if you have a road game? Because maybe your road game's in China and someone else's road game's in San Fran. Well, that seems really unfair for the team that just has to drive 2 hours when you have to fly, like 10. So how they work through that, those sorts of things, I think will be interesting.
I
So
figure
do you
if
think that it's going to be the league traveling as a whole? So kind of like a more like a WWE style where they all go to Atlanta one week or go to Dallas the next week, or do you think it's going to be more of that, I suppose, like the NBA where different teams are flying to different areas?
So I think teams will do series similar to NBA kind of does this, but MLB does it a lot, where you'll have, maybe the Outlaws and the Fuel will go to China for 2 weeks, and they'll do a Chinese round of games. Maybe they'll have 2 games 1 week, and the other team will have one, and they'll switch, and they'll play all 3 Chinese teams in 2 weeks. Maybe they'll build the schedule accordingly like that. And then vice versa, where the Chinese teams in 2020 at least could be flown to Texas and do a round of games against the Texas teams or the southern teams if you include Atlanta. So I think they'll do more like that, where it's on the teams moving around rather than the league kind of shipping all the teams around. But I don't know. I mean, that's just purely my speculation. I have no idea.
Yeah.
there's so many different ways you could do the structure. Just in my head, my idea would be that, say Atlanta hosts some games, right? People or teams play Atlanta at home or in Atlanta. I figure 2 teams fly in for the week, and each of those teams only has that one game, right? Because they're traveling and because, they don't want to burn people out or something. Meanwhile, Atlanta, the home team, has 2 games that week, has to play both of those road teams who are coming in. So then the home crowd gets 2 games, and then the away teams only have to worry about the 1 game versus Atlanta. Of course, you could also have those 2 away teams play each other in Atlanta, but then, that's a little extra work. Maybe yes, maybe no. I have no idea. It remains to be seen how hard the league is willing to push the teams in terms of travel. Obviously, we have no idea of any road schedule or something. Although it's supposed to be getting released, I forgot about this, on the 12th.
Yeah, 3 days.
Oh, that's
3
soon.
days. We will have the full season schedule, and we will know how many times people will be traveling, or maybe we won't. Maybe they're going to hide the details, but I don't think you could. So that'll be pretty interesting. In general, though, I'm really hoping, obviously we've had a discussion about burnout and everything. I'm really hoping that they don't decide to say, you will be traveling 6,000 miles over the next month.
Yeah.
Good luck. Like, oh my God, like having 28 games instead of 40 won't save you from having to take transatlantic flights every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You will die. Your entire team will implode. That will be so much work. So I'm hoping the league gets that. That's a pretty standard concept to understand. So hopefully they realize, like, let's give the traveling teams a little extra time, take it easy on them, not do this too often for this first season, get everybody used to it. And then season 3 and onward, we start really amping it up. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic.
Okay, I'm so excited for the schedule. I get to plan out my vacation, speaking of burnout. But anyways, let's talk about week 1, because we do know what is coming. We do have 4 days of 4 matches each. So that is a lot of Overwatch for this first week. Let's take a look at what day 1 is. And how about each of us chooses a game to watch? Let's try to agree on 1 game for each day. Sound
For
good?
each day?
Is that all right? Or
That's fine. No, that's fine.
Sounds
I think if I were to throw out my 2 for day 1 that are most interesting, I mean, you have to talk about Gladiator's Soul. You have to talk about the Fisher kind of battle. I mean, there's going to be a lot of storyline there, like how he'll be on stage. Not that I don't think there's any ill will towards any of the players, but like, will he play up like that? Oh, I moved away and I'm Fisher and I'm with Soul now. Screw you, Gladiators, kind of thing. Which I hope he does. Or I mean, you have to look at the rematch of the finals. I mean, it's the opening game of the season. I'm so glad they did this. So I think for day 1 at least, not to take anything away from Boston, New York, or Hangzhou, Shanghai, but I think those other 2 games are just really, you can't look away.
Day 1 is going to be the day to watch. If you can only catch 1 night of Overwatch, I would recommend watching day 1. Not only because of Philly versus London and Seoul has the key to my heart versus the Gladiators. Will we see Shanghai win their first victory in Overwatch League? So it will be Shanghai versus Hangzhou Spark. So that will be the first Chinese team will win in Overwatch.
That's true.
So I'm excited for that one. And that's on Valentine's Day. So everybody order your pizzas, get some roses, watch some Overwatch. Recipe for
Yeah.
life.
Pizza?
Yeah,
Is that a
I love some
Valentine's Day thing?
pizza.
That's,
Yeah,
that's absolutely true.
Well, in
Yeah.
Chicago, what my family does, because I'm single, but what my family does is we order a heart-shaped deep dish pizza.
Oh,
Like the Lou Malnati's restaurant that we go to does that all the time, and
That's
that's so
cool.
good. So when I was in college, though, I would still get pizza and pretend I was home. But let's talk about day 2.
That's
Enough
terrible.
about me. So for day 2, we have Defiant versus Outlaws, Rain versus Mayhem, Fuel versus Shock, and Charge versus Hunters.
My bias will tell you Dallas versus San Francisco is going to be a hell of a game. One
will.
that you should watch because it's going to pop off. But I'm very interested in that last one. Another pairing of Chinese teams that we know very little about in terms of what they're going to be able to do. Teams that people are kind of trending towards the lower end of the scale. We don't know if that's deserved yet. We don't know how well these teams are going to get together. We don't know if we're going to see Season 1 Shanghai 2.0 or like, no, China is a really good region and you should fear them no matter what. Very interested to see which end of the spectrum we tend towards. I'm not very high on Chengdu myself. I think Guangzhou will have it. But no matter what, it will be interesting for people who just want to be educated a little more on those teams. So definitely looking forward to that one because we know a lot about Dallas and the Shock. We know that Dallas was starting to pick it up towards the end there. San Francisco was too. And since then, they've made some moves and have way too many DPS players again. But, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, of the 8 teams playing that day, we really only know about 3 of them. We know the Outlaws because they didn't do much. We know most of Dallas within reason, and we know the Shock. We have no idea about anyone else. We know 3 players from Florida, but that's a totally new roster, and who knows if Tavik will even still be there. And why is he on the roster?
They're still not going to win very much.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Just throwing
But
that one out there, sorry.
yeah, no, I have to agree with you, Phil. I think Charge Hunters is going to be a great game. I mean, I think it's just the most mysterious. We don't know. We will honestly not know what we're going to watch when it starts. So I'm excited for that. Just see the teams as well.
And I get to see my boy Bacon Jack, who I haven't seen since he played in the Santa Monica group stages of the 2017 World Cup, which is where I wrote my first article for Chinese Taipei, Blizzard official name. Yeah, they weren't supposed to be. Yeah, they weren't supposed to be called Hong Kong. They were called Chinese Taipei.
But Chinese Taipei is Taiwan.
Oh, did I get that wrong? No, he played for Chinese Taipei. He did not play for Hong Kong.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Whatever. One of us is right. I don't really know. But he played and he did a good job. And when they had a table on the side of the arena where every team would go and do signings and stuff, and he was just like, "This is amazing. Oh my God, I'm here to play a video game, and people want me to sign their stuff. Yes, people, I will sign your things. I am Bacon Jack. How do I write that in English for you? No, I'll just write it my way." He was a cool kid. He's a nice guy. He does his thing. He plays the game. I mean, Tracer doesn't exist anymore. I don't know what he's gonna do because he was a really good Tracer, but he'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And
should make him back.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how he does, but day 3 I think is also going to be a standout as we will be starting off with Paris Eternal versus the London Spitfire, and we've been hearing mixed reviews, mixed anticipations for Paris especially, but going up against the winners of Season 1 isn't really going to be the best benchmark, I believe, for them to show what they are truly capable of. I don't want to go as far to say
unless they win.
Stomp. That's fair, but they won't.
You're right, but
yeah, I think it'll prove what I think we already know, and that they're not an elite team, like a top 3, top 5 team. I don't know if it can't, I don't think, in any way prove that they're like a bottom 5 team. It's one game against a top 3 team, so it's not going to say anything to those measures. But it'll be a rough start for Paris, I think, unfortunately, and for Washington the following game.
I think it'll be a game where Paris will take anything they can get. Any map win, any team fight success, anything that isn't a total stomp, they will go, "Oh yeah, look what we just did against the number one team in the league. We took a map off of them, or 2 maps even, but I don't think, even that's a stretch. I know that look on your face, but I want to believe that they can be good, largely because I've just been doing a lot of coverage on EU lately, and they're just really proud. And I want them to be able to back that up, because it sucks to be proud of something and then have it suck. And then you're just like, oh, I still like it. As a Dallas fan, I understand what it's like to be proud of something, but have it really, really suck. So all of Europe is feeling, or will be feeling, what I felt for most of season 1 as a Dallas fan. Katrina, shut up. So yeah, I don't want them to go through what I went through. When you're hurt, you try and keep others from hurting if you're a good person, unlike Katrina.
I will say, if we get to season 2 and the meta is where it is, please don't let that be the case. I think Paris could do well. I think this is an EU meta. That's a big generalization, I know, but I do think GOATS is a really prominent thing in EU, and they do it better than a lot of other people. I think we saw it in the World Cup. Granted, I don't think you can say that you can do many metas better than London, because they're really good. So if it's going to be close, it's going to have to be because we're in a GOATS heavy meta still. And, that's the only thing I can say.
Let's put it this way: their Rhine Diva Zarya frontline is Gesture, Fury, and Prophet.
Yeah, it's never mind. It's 4-0.
Or no, it's probably Birdring instead of Prophet, because Prophet will be on Brigitte
or Krillin.
Or Krillin. God only knows how they're going to slot these guys in. Yeah. But if we're going off of the people who just won the grand finals, this roster on GOATS will still be horrendously good.
Yeah.
Although, I agree that I don't want it to be GOATS by then. Please. GOATS is great, but if we have another 3 months of GOATS, when people are already getting tired of it, viewership will suffer. People will just be, even if we figure out, like, oh, I know what makes a skilled GOATS team versus a not skilled GOATS team, which people are starting to figure out. Like, if you can start to see that, that's great. But it's not going to matter if this meta has been around for a year and a half at that point. People are just going to want something new.
Yeah, no meta.
I think that will happen.
Anyway.
Yeah, like we got tired of Dive. We got real tired of Mercy meta. Those are both around for a year and change. And well, now people want it back. They're like, I miss Dive so much. Maybe we should rework Mercy. No, don't do that. Please. But like, GOATS is at that point right now where we want it to go away. Maybe we'll want it back at some point after whatever replaces it gets tired or is broken or something. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
All right, you could get me on a tangent about how I think we're in one of the most variety-filled eras of Overwatch.
I agree. I agree.
But before we go there, I think let's focus on London for a bit. We were thinking about doing some power rankings here tonight, which I know can be a little bit of a controversial topic, but you know what? We're going to go for it anyways. So all of us decided to come up with a top 10 hypothetical list. And Goopy, in your experience writing power rankings, is there any words of wisdom you would like to impart to our audience?
I feel like you can make a ton. You could put 100 asterisks next to everything we're about to say. These are our opinions. These are based on our analysis of the teams, which there's no one objective analysis outside of stats and watching the game, watching the players. So this is our take on watching the game, watching last season, judging off-season moves that we've not seen any live practice of. So we're just speculating. Organizational structure that we believe in, player structure, coaching structure. You name it. There are so many variables when building a power ranking list that you cannot stress the subjectivity of enough. I mean, if you watched Watchpoint, there was tons of disagreements from the ones that Emily ran and the other ESPN dude, I forget his name, Fion or whatever.
And Tyler Fion.
Yeah, that's it. That they put out. So I mean, there was a ton of pushback from that. So I mean, there's going to be pushback from whatever we say. That's the caveat for me.
So just know we all love you.
Mm-hmm.
We all love BC.
We're going to get through these next few minutes together as a family.
Let's hold hands.
I'll throw out as well that the numbers we're about to list to you are taken as an average of the three of us each coming up with our own top 10. So this is not indicative of any of our individual opinions, except for one that we all unanimously agreed on.
Yeah.
The rest of them are like, I rank them 4th, you rank them 6th. Let's add it up, divide by 3. This is where they land. So just keep that in mind as we start.
Should we start at the bottom of the
Yes.
list? Should we start number 10?
Yes.
I think we should build the suspense for the number one.
Yeah.
So number 10 on the WatchHaus power ranking list for Overwatch League Season 2 are the Shanghai Dragons. So where did each of them have us? Where did each of us have Shanghai on our list? You ask. I had them number 9.
I had them like 12.
And
Katrina.
I don't have them whatsoever.
well, why did I put them on the list then?
I think
Anyway.
you're the only person who ranked them at all on your list. And you
What? I thought I saw
number
something
10 on
different.
This is why we trust Goopy with the math here.
Oh,
No, you're so wrong. I even bolded the ones that only one of us had on. Can I
Oh,
go over
no.
that? We should start with that bottom pool, by the
Okay.
way. There's
Oh.
a
Here,
certain
let's keep going. Let's keep going.
while Connor figures out how to do basic math, here's what we're gonna do. Here are the teams that each of us, or only one of us, had on each of our lists, right? Like I, for instance, am the only person in here that had Dallas. Big frickin' surprise, right? Only one person had Houston, had them at number 7. The other two of us did not have them.
Mhm.
Only one of us had Shanghai at number 9. That would be Connor as well. Only one of us had Guangzhou, which I believe was Katrina, at
Yep.
number 10, right? So the rest of them, we all had. Oh, and I will say Seoul, 2 of us had on the list. I had them. Katrina had them. Connor, I believe, did not. We did still include them because they're definitely worth talking about. But not all 3 of us agreed that Seoul will be in the top 10. So those teams we just brought up, one of us had them on the list, but only one of us. The rest of these will be ones that we all agree are in the top 10, starting with
number 9
Let's
would
do
be
9.
the first one that at least 2 of us have. So the 1 through 9 are ones at least 2 on our list. All of them. So sorry for number 10, guys. I'm just a big fan of Shanghai.
No,
they're gonna
it's
do
okay.
win, guys.
All the teams to make it
Come
onto the
on.
list. I'm happy it's them. They do
Oh,
have Hondu
they
Pantera
deserve
on
to
there.
do well. Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see about
Oh my
that.
gosh,
That's
you're so
why
red. You're so
I am. I'm red like the Shanghai Dragons logo. Passionate
Let's go.
fan.
Let's go number 9. It's going to be the LA Gladiators. I'll go first on this one. I think the Glads are going to do very well. I think Decay and Roar were great additions. I don't know anything about their new support. I hate them for the way they announced it, but otherwise I'm sure he's great. In general, they had a top 5 support duo in the first place. Like Surefour and Hydration are still good. Bishu and Void are still good. Like the Gladiators still have a lot of high caliber options, and their offseason was not exactly a bad one. That said, I don't know how well they'll stack up against the rest of the teams on this list and their offseason moves and so on. So we'll see. Number 9 for us. If you guys have anything else to add on that one.
And once again, chat, just remember we love you.
Yes.
Yeah, don't get mad. Don't get mad. Look,
Yeah.
I've got Gladiators merch, okay? I have merch for so many of these teams because I do love so many of these teams, but I got to rank them somewhere.
Yeah. I actually had the Glads at 6. Like I had them pretty high. So for those in the chat, I got you at least semi close.
I had them at 8 and Katrina had them at 9. So we're kind of trending towards the bottom of the top 10. Yeah, I'm going to call you out. Deal with it. Number 8 for us, only 2 people had this team on their list, but they're definitely worth talking about. It's going to be Seoul. I had them at number 9 and Katrina had them at number 2. Connor did not have them at all. Katrina's very bullish on how she thinks Seoul will do. I'm a little more tempered in my understanding. I've heard a couple reports already of their offseason struggling. We'll see. They've got a couple months to turn things around and make sure everything's spick and span. But as a whole, this team is either going to do really, really well and be the Seoul that we wanted them to be at the start of season 1, or they will repeat season 1, I think, and just be bad. Just like middling, disappointing. Meh. So we'll see. Katrina agrees with the first one. I agree more with the second. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, Katrina, what's your defense of Seoul? Because you had them really high.
All right, so first of all, even though there is a larger-than-life personality on the team, it is one that I am frankly a big fan of, Fisher. That's all you have to really know with Seoul right here. They have a phenomenal base of Fleta, who performed outstandingly, especially on the far out on Nepal World Cup. We'll never forget it. You also have Jaehong, who is the consummate captain. Really great leadership coming in from him. Excellent tank line now, with addition to Jaehong on the main tank sometimes. We do have Fisher coming in with that aggressive, redefining play of that Winston as well as the Reinhardt. And even though, yes, there are some spats potentially.
Some asterisks you could put.
I have faith in Seoul that they're going to want to come back from their disappointing season of not making the playoffs last year. They have a fire underneath their asses. They are ready to kick some butt, take some names. I have all the faith. I have their jersey. I have all of their swag. I am biased and I am standing behind it. Go Seoul.
I think them doing better than their season 1 is 90% given. Them making playoffs or taking it all is where you start getting a little foggy. People who think they'll do very well, like you, obviously, this is definitely possible. Percentages is where you get, a little rough. Next.
Wait, before we go next, just remember how our last predictions went.
Oh, yeah, we were like 100% wrong, right?
Yeah, I mean, literally, we have no idea.
That's how power rankings go. It's not to be right. It's just to have fun discussing it, which is something more people should understand, Twitch chat. See you getting mad already about where we put the gladiators. Yeah, deal with it. Number 7 for us is San Francisco. This is a very interesting team this offseason. One that, having interviewed their head coach and a player who was no longer with them right at the end of last season, I'm very interested to see. But at the same time, this one's going to be another feast or famine for me, I think. I had them at number 10. Connor, I believe you had them at 5? Yeah, and then Katrina, you had them at 6. So we're all sort of middle of the pack. I think they will just barely scrape into the top 10 for me. I think there are too many cooks in the kitchen right now. I think 5 DPS and Nevix who can play DPS. Like, it's just going to be another IDQD situation. There's going to be a couple players that they only play for like their last match against the last ranked team that they don't care about. And those guys are going to suffer. And I feel really bad. So like, I need San Francisco to prove to me that they will actually consistently use more than 2 of those amazing DPS players that they have, or give them new homes somewhere else, right? Like, don't be greedy. Like, find what works for you. Focus in, don't waste people's time.
Yeah.
So if they can do that, San Francisco does pretty well in my book.
Yeah, see, I have them at 5 on the assumption that they're going to actually trade at least 2 of those DPS players. So I think if they get some good value, maybe find what they're struggling with early on and do like a 2-for-1 even kind of trade to a team that needs DPS depth. I think that having a plethora of talent like that is good. Now, I could be totally wrong, or maybe they just have a heavy DPS rotation, like you were just saying. But I only have them at 5 on the assumption that major trades will be made.
And they have recently acquired Striker from Boston.
Yes.
Striker is reuniting with Krusty. That's definitely something that upped my rankings. Personally, I think Striker was definitely a key candidate for MVP. Of course, it was a tracer-heavy meta in this last season, but something to also consider when looking at metas is the map pool for each stage. I'm unsure how they're going to select them for stage 1. We remember in playoffs is all randomized, but every single map has a very different factor, with not necessarily whether or not goats will be run, but also what type of goats will be run. And also will we have a 3-2-1 composition with like a Genji or a Sombra at that pointy end of the stick with the DPS. So map pool is something that we all have been underrating, I think, in terms of what meta we are going to see in Overwatch League.
Can I throw out a particularly niche San Francisco stat that I think I have rolling around in the back of my head? I don't think the Shock won on Horizon Lunar Colony more than twice in the entire season. Maybe only once. They lost that map to Shanghai last season. Like, you definitely bring up a good point. Some of these teams, at least the ones that we've seen actually play Overwatch League games on real maps, like some of them just suck at certain maps.
Yeah.
Some of them are really bad at Horizon Lunar Colony or Dorado. So if we suddenly see a lot of those maps being picked, these teams will have to factor that in and either learn them or keep sucking at them or start sucking at new and interesting maps that they didn't suck at before. Like, that's a real deal. So yeah, that's something I often forget, but a very good point.
I think Houston Route 66 was similar. They at least struggled immensely. I don't know if they turned it around later, but first 3 stages, it was rough.
Yeah, so. Dallas was like that with like every map. Yay. Number 6 for us is Hangzhou, the Spark. I think that's a reasonable place for them. I had them a little higher, I believe. Or no, I had them right at 6. And then Connor, you had them at 10?
Yeah.
And then Katrina, you had them at 7. I think those are all reasonable. We have no idea. Like, they're a put together roster, the whole kit and caboodle, all the bells and whistles coming straight to the Overwatch League. But so was the Dallas Fuel. So is the Seoul Dynasty. I don't think they're going to be that bad by any stretch. I think they will be the most successful, fully put together team that we've ever seen. But it remains to be seen how well they'll stack up truly against established Overwatch League talent like the top 5 that we've got here. So thoughts on that?
Main tanks are going to define this meta if we are still going to be seeing triple tank, triple support, and a flexible main tank is the most important acquisition for any team. Gushui.
The best main tank in the world right now. Absolutely.
He is phenomenal. Not only has he redefined the way Winston is played similarly to how we saw Miro in last year's World Cup, but there's my computer. 1 second. Sorry, computer freak out.
I think Katrina died.
I died.
Oh, no,
sorry.
wait. I think we can still
back.
hear you. Yeah, we're good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I don't even think you didn't even drop on the stream. You scared me. I had pulled it up real fast.
Yeah, you're good.
Keep going.
Yeah.
My computer shut off. Sorry, guys. But Gushui,
You're fine.
the center of a lot of these GOATS compositions will be your Winston, your Reinhardt. Of course, the synergy between all of the players is vital, but that is the key frontline hero that you're going to want to focus on, and they've made the perfect acquisition in Gushui.
Yeah, I think regardless of meta, main tank is clearly at a premium in this league. It just is. It's like a quarterback in football. I mean, this is the person running the show in a lot of ways, and a lot of ways shot calling, directing the pushes. And I think no matter what meta we're in, unless there's some weird 5 DPS meta that comes in 2020 and shocks the world, who knows? But until that time, I think we're in that time where main tanks are just so important. So any team that's going to be serious has to have a serious main tank as well. I think this is where Hangzhou is. So.
And that's why Gladiators made such a turnaround when Fisher came to their team. That shows the power of this position, and that's also why I think Seoul will be doing a lot better. But let's move on to our number 5.
I had a little point on that actually. My concern with teams that often focus around just one player is the team they can still build around them. You still need 5 other people on the floor at the same time, right? That's why the Gladiators did very well. Fisher was by far their star player, but the other 5 guys on the field were all really good too. I think Hangzhou has definitely done that as well. I think the remaining talent around him is also really good. Some of the best in China and some of the best in Korea coming together. If they can make that work, they're going to be in a good spot. Number 5 for us. Number 5, oh man, it's the LA Valiant. I had them at 4, and you guys had them at 8. You guys are about to get stabbed by somebody, but it's just a matter of nobody specific. Just particularly zealous Valiant fans out there who really want them to be ranked very high. I put them very high to appease those Valiant fans that I know and love, because I think a common argument with the Valiant ranking lower than usual, Katrina's gone, is that Soon left, and that the Valiant will be nothing without Soon, their carry DPS, who is really good. And yeah, Soon is amazing. Soon's a god, and Paris is very lucky to have him. But the Valiant have some of the best pieces in the game right now. You've got Fate, you've got Custa, you've got Agilities when he is, he's gone to in and out lately. The Valiant have the capacity to win stage playoffs, to make it to the postseason. Space is the best Western off-tank in the world by a lot, except Seagull.
Cool, Matt.
I'm really, really jealous about that. Yeah, no, he's better than Cool Matt. I'm sorry. Cool Matt's great. I love him to death. I love the 69 on his name. But yeah, Space is just – shut up, Katrina. I think the Valiant will do very well again. I don't think anything's going to stop them from picking right up from where they left off and continuing to be a playoff caliber team. And definitely at least a top 5 to top 10, as we are agreeing, it would seem. Thoughts on that?
I think if you're going to make an argument for why they're at 8 or lower, it's just simply the argument, we've talked about this earlier, but it's kind of like the argument used against Houston. There's a lot of other teams making offseason moves, improving, doing these different things, and what have the Valiant done? And the issue is some people think they haven't done enough improving. The counter argument to that is, well, they were really good last year. They won their division and they were in the playoffs and did very well. So do they need to make changes? It's not, So it's hard to say. I just think that there have been more teams that have come into this 5 to 10 range. They're going to shake it up more. And I think of all the teams that are going to be on the bottom of that, kind of the losing teams, I think Valiant is the one for me. So someone had to be there. For me, it's Valiant.
So let's
Katrina,
move on.
welcome back. Okay,
Let's move on.
yeah, right.
No
Let's
step
see. Number 4 for us is Philadelphia. I think I threw this out in the pre-show. I think the Fusion's performance in the postseason was a fluke. I think them being stomped by London is exactly what was always going to happen. I think they caught New York with their pants down, and their diamond mining picks out or whatever in Minecraft jokes. They were playing Minecraft. I think Philly got very lucky, and Philly has always been a team with an extremely high ceiling, but also a lower floor than average of most of these top 5 teams. I still think they'll be top 5. I think they're a great team overall, and you can never ignore Carpe, but they will have their low moments, and they will need to struggle it out. They almost didn't make it to playoffs and made a great grand finals run, but then got their butts kicked. So it's going to be either they figure it out and really impress and come back to the championship, or they struggle. For me.
So
what do you guys? I know you guys think.
I'll make the opposite case. I have Fusion at 2 for me. So I think that they weren't just fluking at the end and had this up and down season. Ploy. It was all a ploy to get hot when it counted in stage 4 in the playoffs. They took it easy. So I think I believe in the Philly organization more than any other organization in the league. I think they're one of the better built ones. They take care of their players the best. On a serious note, like that is real. I think that is real. So I think maybe there was some genius in the organization that said, hey, let's not burn our players out in the first 3 stages, grinding 40 hours a week. Let's take it easy. Let's let Chef Heidi cook some awesome meals, and let's get to stage 4 in playoffs and let's kick ass there. And so I think that maybe it's not really, they didn't plan that much to be real, but I do think they took care of their players to the degree, and they have the knowledge in the organization that other organizations don't have to take care of the players. And so I think that it just paid off in the end. They just had the endurance that other teams didn't have. They clearly were outmatched in the finals. London was clearly the best team, so don't hear me say that. But I just believe in the org a lot. I think that what you said about the low floors, I think that's absolutely true. I think it was really true the first 2 stages. I think they had the lowest floor of maybe in the bottom 3 in the league. I think towards 3 and 4, maybe that floor got a little higher, and we'll see it continue to raise, but they do just have this crazy high skill ceiling that makes them chaotic and unpredictable, and I love it. So Philly versus the world.
That's always been their angle, but that was also Houston's angle, and look how Houston did.
I know.
Philly could just as easily do what Houston did in season 1 for season 2. But I think the big difference, I completely agree, is their organizational structure. I think Chef Heidi is really going to bring it home for them. Like nobody else has Chef Heidi except Philly.
No one.
Unless she gets traded. Ooh, that'd be spicy.
Spicy
off-season trade. Chef Heidi signed to Houston in multi-million-dollar deal. She's got to be in demand.
Heidi and Fraggy for Muma. I'd take it.
How much you want to bet other teams have been like, yo, Heidi, give you $1 million.
Yeah.
Get over here.
Cook our foods.
Yeah, right? And she stayed.
Yeah.
What do you think? I'm pretty sure about that. She's still cooking for them right now. So yeah. But yeah, whoa, that's crazy. Yeah, sorry. Katrina, go ahead.
So Philly's one of those teams where I really don't know. I really don't know. I feel like they do have great infrastructure, as you said. Their success last year is telling. Their attitude, that Philly against the world, that's pretty powerful, having a chip on your shoulder. But out of all of our teams in the top 10, that's the one that I am the least confident on where they will end up. So I do know that both of you feel quite strongly about this team.
You placed them at 5th, right?
I did place them pretty high.
I also had them at 5th, and then Connor, you had them at number 2. Yeah, so I think we all agree that Philly could absolutely do what they did again and do it better. It's just a matter of if they will.
And there's less off-tank battles going on right now with Hot.
They have they've kind of figured it out, right? They've got Carpe and EQO. Those are our guys. They added a little flexibility at main support with Elk, but he's a 2-way. He's not going to be there all the time. They're still trusting Neptuno. Fraggy is still there for some reason.
Yeah,
right?
he'll be back up, I would think. Rotational.
I don't know what he's gonna do, but like, I mean, Fraggy, God, what a marketing chip Fraggy is.
Yeah.
Look at Fraggy. Oh, he just walked out on stage and did the flex thing that he always
Yeah,
does.
you can't
Whoa.
underestimate the power of the beard and also the
Absolutely,
power of
right?
marketing.
Like they kept the pieces they needed to keep or that made sense to keep. They trimmed the rest, right? So Philly, like you said, organizationally, they make a lot of smart moves. It's just a matter of if their team will be able to execute on those moves to the most. As bad. Anywho,
So
number
really
go.
quick before we go to 3, what do you think is more beneficial in terms of financial success? Having these personalities that might stay for the short term during those beginning years of Overwatch League, like your Fraggies, your Cool Mats, your Jakes, your Seagulls, your XQCs? Or is it better to start by winning those titles? What's going to make you more money? Which strategy, marketing wise, do you think will have the ultimate success? Because that is a game that these teams are playing. Look at Dallas.
Yeah.
Look at Houston. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're not going to win. They're not going to make it to playoffs.
I would
they're going to
honestly,
make a hell of a lot of money.
Right. I would honestly say option 1. The title right now is not a big deal. London, despite winning and being undisputedly the best Overwatch team in the world, still gets people going, well, they're not British players. How are you going to cultivate a local fan base? Which is stupid, especially after you've seen everything they've done in the offseason. They did a great job. But the teams that have consistently been the most liked and therefore the most lucrative have not been the most successful. Philly being a notable exception,
Shanghai.
New York being a notable. Look at Shanghai. Yeah. Shanghai went 0-40, and they I feel were kind of an asterisk because they were the only Chinese team. So all 1.5 billion people in China were rallying behind Shanghai, and now that's going to be split up between the 4 Chinese teams. But even so, their 0-40 story won them a lot of fans and a lot of money, right? Like, you don't need to be good. Like, yeah, you want to be good. There are fans you will lose if you are not good at the game, but there are still fans you'll get as an underdog or as a middle of the pack team that just has a likable fan base, like Houston, right? Like, the title's great right now, not necessary.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's option 1 if you have to pick. I think the way to do option 2 is you garnish fans through winning. So, I mean, in any sport, esport, there's going to be bandwagon fans. And if London wins 2 straight titles going into the 3rd season with geolocation, they're going to have a large fan base regardless of what the players look like or anything like that, where they're at located in the world. So I think there's 2 strategies. I think we're seeing, like you said, Katrina, I think we're seeing teams clearly go for option 1 in Houston and Dallas and other places. But I think there's something to be said too about just like, we're going to garnish fans because we're going to kick ass. Yeah. And so, like, I think both are viable, honestly, if you are building a team. I think if I were building a team, I would try and get personalities, and I would try and build a healthy infrastructure that could sustain at a high level, and keep players happy, keep fans happy, all those sorts of things. That's why I think we're seeing in Philly and different organizations like that. So it's tough.
Look at Boston. They were not a likable team. They did not care about marketing. Huck is basically Bill Belichick. Like, he wanted to build a squad that wins. Took him a little bit, but he was by far the most successful manager to do so in the history of the league so far, with the exception of London. I would say Susie is number 1, Huck probably number 2 after that, specifically because of stage 3. Look at the run they had. Look at the fans they built because of that. The fan base in Boston probably tripled in stage 3, probably petered a little bit in stage 4. But like, they held on to some of those guys, and not to mention the history that they have as the Boston team, right? Or the history NYXL gets as the New York team, and so on and so forth. So yeah, there are cases that will show you that either option works. These guys are gonna get fans and make some money no matter what. But yeah, ultimately, I think option 1 there is probably the more effective way to do it right now.
And if you look at, there was some data shown on Twitch for All Access Pass or for on the Overwatch League site, bits donated. Dallas was in the lead the entire season, I believe.
Yeah, Dallas, Houston,
by a good amount, by a few million bits, which is a few $1,000s. So yeah, that's a great metric to look at too. Yeah.
But now let's go back to number 3. Thank
Number
you for
3. Yeah, no,
entertaining
sorry.
my tangent.
No, that was is worth discussing for sure. I think that was a really good point. Number 3, speaking of fan bases and how those are going to be formed, for us is Vancouver, the Titans. What an interesting team. A complete pickup from Runaway, minus Flowervin. Bless her. She's over making Korean Overwatch amazing and like kicking ass all the time. But this team, I honestly believe is going to be the team that was promised. The full squad that's going to come to the Overwatch League and actually do well, unlike Dallas or Seoul last season. Although New York, I guess, did it, but they had a couple additions. And Jonak, who's Jonak. I think Vancouver, this ex-Runaway squad, is easily going to be able to be a team that becomes a playoff contender immediately. I think their wins and their almost wins in Korean Contenders and Apex for the past year and a half have shown that they can consistently put up a roster that kicks ass and that knows each other very well, works together very well, and has been through some stuff. So, like, I'm feeling pretty good about this team. I had them at 3, Connor had them at 3, and then Katrina, you had them at 4.
Yeah, I think there's just something to be said about cultures within a team itself when you're on stage playing, that it's worth having an experience. Like take London, for example. When they're shuffling their roster every game, every map during the season, they're not winning games. But when they have a core 6 of talented players, they're owning. And I think Runaway has that core 6 that's unbelievable. They have great subs too, but I think that core 6 that goes up on stage each week are going to know each other. They're going to know how they play the game around certain communication errors that other teams might have and be able to just say, go do this, boom, we're good. And it'll just be easy for them. They'll integrate right in. I do think of all the expansion teams, this is going to be the one, wherever they end up on the standings, it's going to be the highest up, pending some disaster. I think this team, if they don't make the playoffs, it will be a massive disaster. It will be a crazy story. It seems like a shoe-in that they're top 5 of all the teams. I mean, this one just seems like they are so ready, so consistent, already there. It should be Harsha's coaching. Like, I mean, there's so many good pieces to this. I don't see how it could fail.
I'm a lot more cautious when it comes to Vancouver. While they do have a lot of the pieces set already, they have a bit of a head start going into this season as opposed to a lot of the expansion teams. This is going to be one of the first times Runaway Vancouver will be facing up against more of the Western play styles. There's going to be a lot of challenges in moving to the Los Angeles area, starting this entirely new journey. Homesickness was a major factor actually last year for Seoul Dynasty that did lead to a bit of a disappointment.
That's actually a really good point because Runaway as a team has always worked because of the magic of being Runaway, right? The brand, the jerseys, the sweaters, Mama Flowervin, Runner breaking ceiling tiles, just like magical moments that should never happen, but just did. And now they're not Runaway. So in a perfectly intangible, unmeasurable sense, the Titans will never have what Runaway had. And that could be a big deal for an emotion-based, momentum-based team like now the Vancouver Titans. They're cursed with the burden of expectation. They will have so much pressure on them, as you've brought up. And if they don't perform, they will feel that pressure. How they handle that pressure will decide whether or not they completely crash and burn off of that when they start losing for the first time, or they rally and keep going as normal. So it'll be decided in like the first month, right? Like either they kick it off, maybe not a perfect start, but they do pretty well. And they say, okay, we've got this. We're just going to ride it out, do our thing. Or things don't go the way they planned, which I'm sure is like they want to win it all and be undefeated. And they start panicking. And the managerial staff starts struggling to keep everybody in line. Kind of a Dallas Fuel situation, which is scary. I really don't want any team to ever have to do that again. If I see Haksal on the Winston, I'm probably going to cry. Like, that boy does not deserve it. Like, dude. So yeah, it's this one. Like, I want to believe there's a reason I have them so high up, but like at the same time, I'm a little worried. So yeah, we'll see.
And then we will be headed over to our top 2. I think every one of us had these two teams at least in our top 3. I am a Seoul fan, and I have a lot of
This
faith.
next one actually is
What?
not everybody. No. All right,
Really?
so
Oh.
I'll get this here. Number 2 for us
Help
is
me out here,
London.
Thibble.
Yeah, number 2 for us is the London Spitfire. Temper your expectations here, Twitch chat. I had them at number 2. Connor had them at number 4, and Katrina had them at number 3. Now you're swaggering a lot over there for someone who just put London at number 3. What's the deal with that? Talk to me about that.
I think London is going to do phenomenally well. The reason I have them in 3rd place is because I believe Seoul will indeed be making it to the finals, unless, of course, we do see bracket shifts that make them meet NYXL in the semifinals. London, they just came off a championship. It is exhausting, but at the same time, they have gone through so many challenges as an organization, and now they know what is working for them. They have all of the pieces of the puzzle to be able to be flexible enough where we do see Gesture being able to play so many different aspects of the main tank at a very high level. We did see some London players playing in the World Cup with great success. I think that the chemistry is there, the raw mechanical skill is, and now so is the confidence. They have overcome so much as an org. I believe in them full-heartedly, but not enough for me to deny my love for Seoul and also the skill of NYXL, who has a bone to pick.
Well, spoiler alert, dude. We're not talking about them. They're noticeably absent from this list. I wonder where they went.
11.
London, for me, much like Vancouver, are cursed with the burden of expectation. They're the champions. Everyone's going to have it out for them. Everyone's going to be watching them. I think London will have a season 2 much like their season 1. Or, excuse me, an OWL 2019, much like their OWL 2018. That's the official way you're supposed to talk about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not season 2. It is OWL 2019. There you go. There's some official stuff from you. Yeah, everybody calls it season 2. Everybody knows what's going on. London will have a whatever, like they did last year, right? Their regular season, they'll struggle. They'll have some moments where you go, what's happening to these guys? Birdring will probably break his wrist again or something. And I don't want that to happen, but God, man, I really hope he's like figured out the whole physical therapy thing, because he was out. That was worrying. I felt for the guy. There's just, that's not even like, man, I'm playing the game, but I'm struggling. It's like, no, my body is failing me and I cannot play the game. It's rough. In any sport, it's rough, but in Overwatch League, especially for me, just because I care about it. So I think they'll have their dips in the regular season and we'll go like, what the heck? What's going on here? But I think by the time we get to postseason, we're going to see them back again. You know, like they flip the switch, right? They know when it's time to like, okay, we're going to win the game now. Prophet's going to go kill 5 of you. It's over. Like, so long as they can do that again, I'm not too worried. But yeah, they'll struggle. They won't be perfect, but they'll get there.
See, so I have them at 4, and it's less of a dig on London and more, I think, the Fusion, Vancouver, and our mysterious number 1 team is. But it's also, I feel like this team was kind of a home run team, especially in the postseason. They almost, I mean, what if Prophet doesn't pop off on that 5K in the finals in that fight? Like, it's kind of like Poco bombs. Like, this team relies on these big plays that I just don't know if are guarantees. There's, NYXL is a methodical team, whether they're 1 or 11 or wherever we have them. Like, that's a team that doesn't rely on big plays and have success that way, unless they're sandbagging. But I just don't. I see London as being pretty volatile. I also think they were kind of a meta-dependent team that happened to have everything in the right place in the playoffs in a big way, and in stage 4. But I think if they do exceed my expectations of 4, it will be because of what you said. I think it'll be because Birdring is back. It'll be like this return triumphant. King is back. But I'm honestly pretty skeptical of that right now. I think he'll take on more of a leadership role. And I think this could be like Krillin's year to be like the new Jonak or something. I think there's, that's obviously all again speculation, but I'm a little bit more hesitant in the team because of the big plays, because of the meta dependency. And you said this as well, Thibble, they're going to have a big target on their back. Every team's going to give London their best because they want to beat the defending champs. So there's something to be said about that in sports, in, schoolyard kickball or whatever.
Well, like, especially here. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Even in season 1, we would talk about like, we prepped all week for this team. Yeah. And then, we didn't care about we were playing Shanghai as well. We didn't care about them. We spent all our time prepping, watching all their videos, looking at their strategies, and analyzing. That's going to be every team with London this season. Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
Except the lower pack teams who know, like, oh, they're just going to kick the crap out of us. We're just going to let it happen. But any team who thinks they've got a shot against London will give it their all. And that, I think, will really hurt them in the regular season. They will be caught off guard by teams who have done their homework, and suddenly you're just like, how did they know that I was going to do that? Oh my God, they spent 18 hours watching me on this specific map for every game I've ever played on this map before. Oh God, okay, well, fine, take it then, take the W. So yeah, it'll be an interesting regular season in that regard for sure.
Yeah, I mean, look at Houston. I mean, they lost their games to, I would say, most of their games to lower tier teams because they prepped insanely for NYXL in London every time they played. They'd either beat London or give NYXL a great match, but then they'd lose to Florida and lose to San Francisco. So I think you'll see a lot of teams continue to do that in an attempt to try and beat the best and prove themselves or something.
Towards the second half of the season, I believe NYXL got taken to more map 5s than any team except Philadelphia, who were always on map 5.
That's who they were.
It's because teams said, it's Nixel. Let's get in there and show them what we got. Let's make sure everybody knows that we're not just some chump team. Dallas Fuel took them to map 5 in stage 3 before they got good, right? Like, teams will try for London. That will be London this year for sure.
Yeah.
So I think we are finally ready to announce our number 1 team, the future
Ladies and gentlemen,
champions.
Number 1 in the regular season of the Overwatch League for us, as decided upon by us 3, or at least the number 1s for now, are the Florida Mayhem.
The Chengdu Hunters.
No, absolutely not. Oh my God, no! It's NYXL.
No way.
Jesus, they are so good. NYXL are so good. Here's the deal with NYXL. They were already so good. Their off season,
insane.
What?
Yeah.
And now they've realized we cannot take any amount of time to go play Minecraft. It's just not a thing you can do. Nobody knew the exact mental understanding of the game and how much you could get away with in season 1. They tried to toe that line, and of course they deserved to be the ones to try that. They had the number 1 seed locked up like 6 weeks before the season ended. But then they found out you cannot do what we tried to do. Now they know. That is very scary for every other team in the league, because now they know we cannot let up on you. We will 4-0 every single team as best we can for the rest of the season forever. We will never let up. We will never take a day off. We are not going to give these guys even a moment. Nene and Flower are going to be, I think, very good additions. Ark and Onimo still exist as people. Mono is still there. Meko is still there. Pine, Sabiobi, Libero. You have the most flexible team in the league again. The most mechanically skilled team in the league again. The team with the greatest internal synergy again. They haven't lost much by bringing in Nene and Flower, people they've played together with. Just like, it's not going to happen. And NYXL's not going anywhere again.
If I were to give a reason why they might, so they did lose their head coach Wizard Young to Washington. So I don't know how much of a role he had in this. I mean, he's a coach that I feel like he's talking about playing like he's trying to play perfect Overwatch. He's trying to perfect the way you play Overwatch. And I think he got really close to doing it in the dive patch at NYXL. I mean, they had it was a science. Boston did a similar thing when they would play dive. It was so clean. Everything was perfect. That's gone now. So, I mean, I think that if they're going to have struggles, I think it could be from a coaching standpoint. I mean, clearly they're the most mechanically gifted team, I think, in the league. I think it's hard to argue against that from every position. The other thing I would think could be an issue, which I think reared its head last year, and I feel like I'm a broken record here, but is the organizational health. So, I mean, they did clearly bust it the first 3 stages, beat everyone, but then they just didn't have they didn't have the endurance. They didn't feel like they needed the endurance to try during stage 4 in the playoffs. So they just kind of played Minecraft and chilled and then didn't have it when it mattered. I think if you have, a better spacing of breaks and you handle your players better and your workload better, you can still, I think, get those wins throughout the season, just not by depleting your players or whatever, or feeling the need to take a break in stage 4. So I think if they get that managed, they'll be fine, and they'll do great things again. But if there were to be reasons they aren't number one, those are the only two I could think of, and I don't think they'll. So,
minor point of clarification: Wizard Young was just one coach of many. Pavane was their head coach, and he's still there.
Oh, okay.
And he just finished coaching Team South Korea in the World Cup, who just won again.
It's true.
So, yes,
true,
I agree that Wizard Young was amazing. He is a genius. And I think Washington, that was the smartest move of all.
Yes.
I was literally in the room with Kate in the off season where she was like, just wrapped up my head coach. First person I got. She made a beeline. I didn't know who it was until they announced it or it got leaked or whatever. But like, she knew that Wizard Young is amazing. And you're right. Now NYXL is without him. I think Pavane is still just as good. It's a lot like, oh no, we lost Arc. Now we have to settle for Animo.
Yeah.
Geez. Oh, what's going to happen now? But yes, it is a hit. I feel losing that synergy that you had with this coach. And I have no idea what their new coach that they just signed, IMT, is like, or their new general manager, Nugget. It remains to be seen what kind of impact those guys will have from a managerial perspective. So yeah, there's a little shakeup, but it's I don't know if that's a huge one. But yeah,
Sure.
I agree. Katrina, sorry, go ahead.
There's nothing really more I can say that you guys haven't. This is just a team that is head and shoulders above the rest of the league, I feel, in terms of professional Overwatch, their mechanical skill. Yes, other teams do have that as well, but the way that this team plays, their cohesion is unlike almost any other. They are consummate professionals. When I think of the best comparison to the athletes we know in like traditional sports, flesh sports, whatever you call them these days, you immediately think of NYXL.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that. The other points I had, of course, you two took them all as usual, but no, this team will win.
Yeah. I go ahead.
If I can throw out a shameless plug, I interviewed Bonnie halfway through season 1, and I asked him about the good Mercy players throughout the season, and I kind of lured him into a trap question that I feel bad about. But he did talk about Animo extensively. I encourage you guys to go back and find that passage and read it. One, because shameless plug, I got to make that bread, gamers. Two, though, because it really shined a light on like what the kind of game NYXL is trying to play. It's the kind of game where everything is thought out. Everything is accounted for. Your outline has every point that could possibly happen, every contingency, everything. This is the game they are trying to play. Like Connor said, they're trying to make the ideal game of Overwatch.
Yeah.
So if they continue that, I don't see them going anywhere.
I have an interesting idea for our closing few minutes. What about we each make the case for the team that we had in the top 10 that didn't make the overall list? Just to give a shout out to some other teams. What do you guys think? Sound okay?
Sounds good.
Sure.
Sounds
I'll let
good.
one of you guys start because I talk too much. Go ahead.
I can go ahead because I had two, so I can just do. I guess I'll just do both. So I think that there's a lot of love for Vancouver and not a lot of love for Shanghai. And to me, I don't really see why that's the case. So Korean Contenders Finals last year, it's Kongju Panthera and Runaway, and this is one of the greatest matches of Overwatch of all time. I would genuinely argue. And Kongju Panthera took it to the bitter end, and this was incredibly close. And Shanghai signs a lot of players from that team, and we don't include them in the top 10. We have Vancouver at 3. To me, there's some like logical breakup there. Like we're just giving Shanghai some baggage because they're 0-40 and it's going to be hard to get that first win. I think that's there. But I think Shanghai has actually had an incredible offseason. I think they kept the players they should have. They should have kept Otto too, but whatever. They pick up money. Yeah, that's also true. They pick up, I think, the second best option from a complete round of players that they could get, and they form an incredible team. And I think they have the Chinese backing now. I mean, I only see good things happening for them. So that's.
I have them at 11. I think it will entirely depend on how well those like the bottom of my top 10 do. Shanghai could just as easily jump into the top 5 if they really, really get it right. Like so many of these positions for me were very fluid. I just had to pick a top 10. So I agree. Yeah. I think Shanghai, you can't put the Gladiators, towards the top 5 who have 2 players from that team and then put Shanghai anywhere below 10 to 15 even. That's a stretch. because they just have the rest of that team. It's an insane roster. That 4-3 after 8 matches, because one of them was a draw series for Contender Season 2 of Korea, was decided by like a total of 3 team fights. Honestly, it was closer than close. It was. I wouldn't even put a debate in front of it. That was the best series of Overwatch that has ever been played in the entire game. Those guys are good. So for Shanghai to pick up however many of them they did, I think like 4 or so, says a lot. And I think Gaguri and Fearless will be fine. I think the organizational changes they've made will do them wonders in terms of team culture and performance and everything like that. Shanghai are a good team now. They will do well. I don't know if they're top 10, but they'll do very well.
And then my other... Oh, go ahead.
No, you're good.
I was going to change the subject, so if you want to bring up a Shanghai thing.
No.
Good. Okay. My other one was Houston. I had them at 7. I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty biased. But I think this is a team that struggled because of the meta. They did not have a tracer player. That's kind of the Houston meme. But that's not an integral part of the game anymore. I think their strengths that they have. I mean, you could play Goats with Muma, Coolmat, and Spree, and I don't. That's pretty dang good. So I mean, I don't know if they would, but I mean, those 3 are incredible tanks. I think Houston has one of the best tank trios in the league. I think they're going to continue to get better. I mean, they average like 6 and 4 each stage. So for me, I think that could possibly, if they even did the same thing or maybe a little better, would keep them in the top 10. Not a lot of changes made, but I think I don't know they needed to. I just think they were such a complete team to end the season. I think they missed the playoffs by like a map or 2, and it's because they played NYXL every stage, where most like the stages were in each stage you didn't play a couple teams. They didn't have any easy ones. They just had all tough teams every stage. So I think that was part of the reason, but whatever. So I have Houston in, fanboy, whatever.
Every single one of my teams made it to our top 10 list. So Thibble.
Oh, really?
I'll talk a little about Houston there as well. I've got some justification as to why they weren't in my top 10. I think, first of all, whatever. I definitely agree with that front line in a GOAT style composition, and even that back line. Look at Raucus, Bonnie, and Boink running supports. Look at Raucus playing like 8 different heroes all the time. Like, as a GOATs team, Houston will be top 10 easily. Like, really, really good, 100%. And I'm going to throw that out there. I'll make that my bold case. I just think that they have the San Francisco problem, but not as good of a solution. I think their overlap in the DPS position is too great. I think Arhan, Jake, and Dante, and even Linkser to a degree, all step on each other's toes. How are you going to figure out who's the one to bring? How are you going to figure out what situations to use them in? Of course, like you said, if this ends up being like a triple DPS or whatever meta, Houston will thrive. They will have 2 great Junkrat players, a great Sombra player, 2 great Doomfist players, a great Zarya Tracer Flex, Genji players out the butt. Jake can play Bastion forever. Like, if you get flexible in the DPS position, Houston will be a fantastic team. Right now, though, who cares about DPS players? They're future-proof for sure, but they have to hope that the future works out in their favor for them to try and even talk about top 10. And even if it does, like you said, they had a thoroughly average performance last season. Between 4 and 6 wins a stage, that sounds like on average 5 wins a stage out of 10 games. They were perfectly average overall. While they had great moments, and I love the team, I love all the guys on the team, and they can be successful and deserve to be successful, there's a lot of competition out there. So I'm a little low on them, but I want them to be high. I'll say that. That's my team that I would really, well, besides one other that I'll get to, that's the team I want to be in the top 10 that is not.
I guess when we're phrasing it that way, the team that I really do want, I really would like to see succeed. I suppose Shanghai. I mean, just going off of that, I feel pretty confident in our top 10 overall. It's just a lot of these teams have been mediocre that we didn't include. So
mediocre?
Yeah.
SpongeBob joke, sorry.
I know that's a bit harsh, but this is the opportunity for teams to rebrand, to rebuild, to start a new journey, and as Reinforce's tweet said, restart. So coming around full circle here, there is a lot of stories to tell in this next season, and I'm just here for that. I think right now is going to be a defining season of Overwatch League, and probably even more important than season 1 for the overall longevity of the league.
I agree. I think a lot of investors right now that are maybe a little skeptical still are saying, well, yeah, that's your first year. Let's see how you hold out for the next 3 to 5, right? So this is the beginning of that period. I definitely agree. But before we cut out, I want to talk about the team that I had on my top 10 that we did not make into discussion. You guys might not be too surprised, those watching at home, it's the Dallas Fuel. I put them at number 7. Rob, don't give me that face. You shut up. I see you over there. You guys don't see him, but we have him in the Discord call. Yeah, I think Dallas is going to be a top 10 team. Are you kidding me? Look at how they were doing in Stage 4. Look at them. You got Mickey was the best Brigitte in the league by a lot. Yes, Siegel is gone.
Yeah.
But they replaced him with RCK, who was good, played for Giganti, was not a bad diva player. If you watch EU Contenders, they have something called the Giganti Bomb. Who do you think was throwing the Giganti bombs? It was RCK. And now he's with Dallas. You got OG, who is a top something main tank. He's pretty good. I don't want to throw top 5 or anything out there because people will be like, you forgot about so-and-so. But he's good. He's really good. I think the adding Closer, bigger move than people realize.
That's fair.
Closer is great. I think he's really good. As much as I hate to say it, I think he's better than Harry Hook. I hate that because I love Harry Hook. He and I are honestly really good friends to a degree. He's famous and whatever, but we talk. And he's just really cool. And I want him to be good, but I think Closer's a little better. And then they've got sort of the same problem with 8 different flex support players or whatever, but they're all also really good. If Effect can stop wanting to die, he'll be great again. And I think that management will do a little better by him this season than they did last season. Hopefully. Please. I think Zachary is great. I love Zachary. I just interviewed him a little bit ago. And he's just a great kid. He's got a good head on his shoulders. Arrow obviously saw something in him to sign him after playing with he had him on Fusion Uni and Team USA. So he sees something in this guy. And I'm hoping he can bring that out because I know a lot of people are like, ew, Zach, he sucked. But whatever, you got one bad performance. I just think overall this team is really strong. They made some good offseason moves. They were picking things up towards the end of the season. The meta right now, or what it could shift to, is probably still going to be in their favor. And if not, they've got a lot of flexibility and a great coach. So they're top 10 for me. No bias.
I think they're in the conversation. I do think a lot of it is their coaching and the organizational health has improved so much. And you have to look at a lot of these teams. You have to look at how they did in Stage 4 or in the playoffs if you have that sample size, because that is the last time we saw them in true Overwatch League form. And if you're looking at those teams, Dallas is one of the most attractive for sure. Granted, they lost Siegel, and you can talk about that and what the additions and all that, but I think they're going to make the playoffs. I would say they'll be in that top 12 spot. It may be scraping in, and I think it will maybe either be them or Houston. I don't know. I just can't see both those teams making it.
With a top 12 playoff picture, right? Suddenly this gets a lot more open than it was. We were talking about top 4 or top 6 in seasons prior, last season, right? Oh, it's top 8, excuse me. But in any case, opening that up to the next 4 teams are technically opening it up to teams 7 through 12. That's big. Yeah. Some teams, that are doing very well at the end of the season or whatever could slide in, which is where I see Houston or even potentially Dallas coming in, right? Coming in. Katrina, come on. I see the face. Talk it out. Let's go.
I think both of them will be bottom 8 teams. I have very little faith in either of the Texas teams going into this next season. Just realistically, it's not necessarily because of a lack of talent, but a lot of these newer teams, a lot of the acquisitions made in the offseason make the rest of the field so much stronger. And little change was made to either of them. It didn't work last year. I don't think it's going to work this year. But I could be very wrong. I don't think so, though.
You're wrong!
How could you say that, Katrina?
We fly the Texas flag at the same height as the American flag, and both of them. in the
And you know
playoffs.
what? This is why WatchHaus is such a lovely family. We may disagree at times, but you know what? At the end of the day, at the end of the day,
everybody.
at the end of the day, we are all here for each other.
Smile. Smile, everyone. It's happy. Yay. Owl 2019 is coming up. Not even season 2. It's Owl 2019. Coming up. Wow. Okay. I guess I can wrap it up. I can
Go
do
for
that.
it. I think
Yeah.
right now, Thibble and I are.
In a war.
Yeah.
Terms right now.
Can you be Switzerland, Goopy, and wrap up the show for us?
Switzerland,
I do
yes.
know that there is a lot of difference between people with sense and people without them, so I'll let you be the intermediary.
Read the
Okay.
lines, Katrina.
Okay, Switzerland, yeah, we're going to close. So that's it for this episode of WatchHaus. WatchHaus. And so we'll see you in Spriggan's time later.
Just stop. Good night, everybody. Go watch Contenders.
Yes, contenders.
Oh.